We have another son of soil with us, very eminent intellectual doctor and a civil society leader, Dr. Qazi Ashraf. I think he had given me some counsel to read a couple of books also. I have gone through that and I am immensely benefited by the reference of those books. Dr. Qazi Ashraf Saab, please enlighten us with your thoughts.
Thank you very much, sir. But today, I think there's not much I have to just add to it. So I would prefer to just listen to if there is any other more speaker on the panel.
You are the
We
last
can
speaker.
continue. No, I don't think I have anything to add. I think whatever has been already discussed, it has been elaborate, and there's not much to add to it.
At least we want your
Hmm.
view on.
Yeah, basically, so it has been already a pleasure listening to distinguished personalities like you and Pastor Hamid Bashani, Professor Kakusab, and Sharmaji. Honestly speaking, the political affairs of Gilgit Baltistan had never drawn my attention seriously till the recent past. Whatever little I has caught my eye through some write-ups and some books was all that I have been content with. Mostly Martin Sackville. His analysis has drawn my attention that something is lingering in the air only to happen soon. By soon, I mean a decade or two. But then history happens, and it has to, and it takes its own bizarre ways of happening. Now, when I look back at the map, it surprises me something that Gilgit-Baltistan is 3 times the size of Kashmir and POK put together. It means I'm in a territory with a surface area of 72,000 square kilometers as compared to hardly some 15,000 square kilometers of Kashmir Valley and 11,000 of something like 11 to 13,000 of POK. Gilgit-Baltistan happens to be a land of linguistic, cultural, religious, and even political diversity. Now, before partition, it was a part of frontier territories, as has been already just talked about, of J&K. Of course, a portion of this territory was run by the British Gilgit Agency. The direct control of Gilgit, or at least a part of it, was strategically important given the experiences. Am I, am I audible? Is there?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, you're audible. Please go ahead.
Okay. So the Treaty of Amritsar gave Gulab Singh the rights over the territory extending from east of Indus to the west of Ravi. The arrangement included Chamba, but excluded Lahore. Whether this was an intention of the British at that time or it was, as they argue, a result of ignorance of geography, is hard to settle, but it resulted in excluding the territory on the west of Indus, which forms a great chunk of GB, Gilgit-Baltistan, to fall out of Gulab Singh's direct control. Now, the whole thing started from there. Already in 1840s, before the Treaty of Amritsar, Baltistan was ruled by Ahmad Shah of Skardu and Gilgit by Gohar Aman, besides some kingdoms here and there who were just competing with each other. Now, Dogra troops at that time managed to get a control over both these kingdoms, if at all they may be called the kingdoms, thus unifying into a single territorial unit. However, the problem was that the Dogra state could not maintain their cohesion, partly because of the difficult terrain and partly because of the inclement weather. Now, they were evicted in 1848, again in 1852 from Gilgit. In 1860, they, however, managed to control once again the Gilgit proper, but unfortunately were not able to go beyond that limited territory into the north. And even around Gilgit, the adjacent territories were not formally occupied. Instead, the local Rajas were supposed to pay annual tribute and tax, and they continued to hold their territories as they used to. In 1880, 1878, the British got directly involved in the administration of the Gilgit-Baltistan region, fearing Russian advances in the Great Game. Gilgit Agency was established, and at that time, Dogra control remained confined to the Gilgit Wazard proper. as had been mentioned by Professor Kakrusa, rightly, Gilgit, which included Gilgit Tehsil, Bunji, and Astor. Now, Gilgit Baltistan got better connected to Kashmir through improved road connectivity and telegraph line when the British took over the remaining part of the Gilgit and Baltistan. The Dogra policy of forced labor or begar at that time alienated the people, and the British craftily distanced themselves from Dogra regime, giving it a facade of sympathy to the relationship with the local population. Finally, to sort of end a system of dual control, the British obtained the whole of Gilgit Wazarat on lease from Maharaj in 1935. When Maharaja Hari Singh was giving a thought to the idea of joining the Indian Dominion, the Gilgit British Agency objected to it. In 1938, Maharaja Hari Singh sent Kak Memorandum, a very finely drafted paper or the report at that time, to the British, but they again rejected this memorandum, and they seriously began their attempts to keep Baltistan and Gilgit a separate administrative unit by 1941. Now, in 1947, weeks before the partition, the British returned control of Gilgit Wazarat back to the Wazir. He called Wazir Wazarat. But Wazir's position at that time, unfortunately, was not strong to take full control. The local officers refused to take oath of loyalty to Maharaja, and the rebellion erupted, and Wazir was arrested by the Gilgit scouts at that time. Skardu was captured, and the rebels on 14th of August they captured Baltistan again, and Baltistan became a part of Gilgit agency. Now it happened. It was a sort of a strange thing which was happening there in that part of Jammu and Kashmir. Now Pakistan sent its political agent for administrative control. Even today, Gilgit Baltistan was not accepted de jure a part of Pakistan, but only under the administration of Pakistan. Constitutionally, Gilgit Baltistan did not become a part of Pakistan. It was not represented anywhere. Neither could the people exercise their right to vote. In 70s, Pakistan slowly began to implement some reforms. However, the political pundits circulate the narrative that Pakistan refrained from integrating Gilgit-Baltistan, partly because of the fear of India's protest, and partly because Pakistan could lose the votes should a referendum happen in some distant future. That may be to some extent true, but it doesn't explain the whole story. Now, the geopolitical truth was that Pakistan couldn't risk a far dangerous gamble by allowing a full provisional status to Gilgit-Baltistan to mature simply because the strip of territory which connects Gilgit-Baltistan with Afghanistan, with all its troubles, especially of Pakhtun separatist tendencies. Now, Pakistan wanted to have a direct observation of the territory from Islamabad itself. Now, with the Afghan and Pakhtun problem by 1990s taken care of to some extent, Pakistan embarked on a slow and steady integration of Gilgit-Baltistan. Now, in 2009 already, Islamabad reformed the administrative setup by allowing a legislative assembly and a chief minister, yielding to pressure groups from within the GB, within the Gilgit-Baltistan, to follow the example of Jammu and Kashmir, which was a state with full legislative status. As Sharmaji has just now mentioned, that there was a tendency in Gilgit-Baltistan for the people to look towards this part of Kashmir. But somehow with the abrogation, it seems that the state has been reduced to union territory. It seems that they have now been elevated to a provincial status. So it is a sort of a paradox which probably should not have taken place. Now anyway, that is a story. History. Additionally, the construction of Karakoram Highway with Chinese pressure began to gradually mount. Now, but it was the Road and Belt Initiative that finally put Pakistan under tremendous pressure. Originally, the plan was to connect Xinjiang province of China to Godar deep water ports to give China access to warm waters. Now, the agreement worth at that time it was only $327 worth in 2006. But with CPEC, it turned into a multi-billion-dollar project. Now, China began to pressure for legal cover that compelled Pakistan to take steps to elevate the status of GB to a full-fledged province. Yet Pakistan was not sure that it could achieve that goal without facing the ire from India as well as from POK governments and even from separatists in Jammu and Kashmir. So Pakistan was literally frustrated by not being able to maneuver the Chinese into agreeing to risk their huge project by not having a legal cover in a sort of a no man's land, as Chinese would call Gilgit Baltistan. Now, CPEC has created a window of opportunity for the people of Gilgit Baltistan to press for a change in the political scenario or the political status. But Pakistan was shaky to throw the dice. Now, nevertheless, it floated the idea of offering a provisional status to GB, Gilgit Baltistan. Accordingly, the government of Pakistan announced a reform package way back in 2016. Now, Pakistan it was desperately looking for an alibi. Now, Imran Khan doled out the carrot now. Now, it remains to be seen whether he will need a stick or not. That only time will show. It's very difficult to just draw a futuristic sort of a what you call prognosis or a futuristic sort of explanation that what's going to happen within the coming years or coming decades. It remains to be seen only. I don't think that things are going to settle like this. The dust is going to settle that easily. There must be a lot of problems, and there will be a lot of problems, as the other speakers have also talked about. So that's it. That I think I don't have anything to add. I mean, what's going to happen in the future, but it remains to be seen that the problem has become complicated, and this part of Jammu and Kashmir had obviously before abrogation of 370, we had a sort of a, you can say, upper hand or we had a status towards which the people of Baltistan could always refer to and look forward to. But now that thing gone, I don't know what's going to happen and how the things are going to just fold out. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. It was really a good intervention and good speech. But may I now, Sunil, are there any questions in your chat box?
No, Bansab, nothing.
So we'll wrap up with 60 seconds each as the last word, like we did in the past. So we'll start with Barrister Bashani. That what are your last thoughts to conclude this?
You, sir. I would say that, as Mr. Javed said, it's a very complex history of Gilgit Baltistan, and I didn't want to get into that because if once we get into that, then we need lots of time to discuss, as we should. So why I avoided that? Because of this lengthy and very, very long discussion on history we have been doing otherwise. What I wanted to say that is in nutshell, is a history of betrayal to the people of Gilgit Baltistan.
Correct.
And at no point of time, they were consulted for any change made to the territory and its status right from 1947. In 74, first time the state subject rule was changed, where the demographic situation was changed because of that, because of the settlement from the outside areas. From there to their fundamental rights, democratic rights were not recognized until 1999, and that was just nominal. I would say even today, the people of Gilgit Baltistan, they were not granted fully democratic and fundamental rights as the other provinces or territories of Pakistan. So that's why I cut it short to prove that they were never consulted and they are not going to be consulted for this decision they are going to make in future. Some people say that because of 257 in the Constitution of Pakistan, they are not going to make this decision. Let me tell you, The Constitution of Pakistan was violated at least more than 15 times in history. And it was not only violated by the military intervention, it was many times violated by the civilian actions in different ways and forms. So they do not care about the constitution. Constitution is not that important as we think. So they are going to make it because I think now what you call it Sharag, they used to call it Sharag, jugular vein to the Jammu and Kashmir. Now it has become Gilgit Baltistan. Pakistan is depending for its lifeline, for its existence, for its safety, for its security, and for the future aims and ambitions on the territory of Gilgit Baltistan, which is 28,000 something square mile. Even if they have to give up to the Pakistani administered Kashmir, and mentally, to tell you the truth, Pakistan has given up the union territory of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. So now their last part where they're going to fight and do whatever it takes to take those 28 square kilometer, mile, which the people of Gilgit Baltistan are calling land grab very clearly. So there is no question of rights, constitution, our fundamental rights is a question of a land which is very, as many of you, Sharma Saab and Javed Saab and Bhan Saab has indicated, is a very, very rich soil with unbelievably rich soil with minerals and other resources, including water and hydroelectricity. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Barrister Saab. Your last word was that it is a land grab, and it could be described as a theft of resources also, because the land is very rich in minerals, and Pakistan has sold it out virtually to China. Then, Professor Kakru Saab, your last word in 60 seconds. Quick.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Bansab. Bansab, I will just comment only on 2 points. One point raised by Mr. Junaid Mir, and another point which was raised by Brigadier Sharma. The first of all, Mr. Junaid said that in Kashmir, Pakistan is being considered as the Messiah and India is being considered as a kafir. I totally disagree on that, because if Mr. Junaid Mir Saab will go a little bit of back into the history, he will realize this thing, that it was at the time of the raiders, which we call the Kabaili raiders. At that time, where the Kashmiris always said that Hoshiar Khabardar, Hum Kashmiri Hain Tayyar. We never opted for Pakistan at that time, though at that time our sentiments being a Muslim were raised much at a higher level than they are today. But I believe that Kashmiris have never been trusted either by Pakistan or by India. If the Kashmiri have been trusted and given the right choices to make with the right freeness, it will come totally clear that it's not the case what Mr. Junaid Mir has said. That was number 1 point which I would like to tell. And the second one was when Mr. Sharma said that it's very important that we should look for our part of J&K. We should make that stable. And then he talked about the military capabilities. Let's leave the military capabilities to the military people and to those people who are capable of looking on that as far as the military side is concerned. But definitely, I totally agree 110% that we need to make our part of J&K stable, capable of this thing, that we are really that bunch of people which really look for peace, which really look for freedom. And for that purpose, it's very important, not only for us, but for the people at Delhi, at the helm of affairs in Delhi, that they should look and they should determine the aspirations of the people of Jammu and Kashmir and work towards that in order to that peace, stability, fraternity is back again, which we have lost because Kashmiris or we have a centuries long our culture, our passion, our everything. Mr. Bansab, you tell me that what we don't have. And in order to sort out our own problems, as Mr. Sharma said that strategically, Gilgit Baltistan has vital position for Pakistan. I said it as well that it is vital becoming for China and Pakistan. But why can't we Indians, we Pakistanis, we Kashmiris forget about all and look for the better future? Let's look for the betterment of our own people. Let's forget all these bitternesses. Come to the table. Let's talk that what we are asking for, what we could have jointly and work for the betterment of the people. Let's just demolish these all boundaries which will take us to Kashgar and wherever. Let India, Pakistan, and Kashmiris work for that and for the betterment of better future. Thank you very
Thank,
much.
thank you. We have Dr. Saab. Any last comment?
So, not much, but I just want to point out that basically what has happened in this Gilgit Baltistan with the announcement, recent announcement of Imran Khan, it's not out of blue. It has a pattern in it. It is going on. This thing is going on right from 1970s, and it's in the public domain. It's not that something is going behind the curtains. I fail to understand how can the strategists and the planners and the big people who are working behind the scenes and just in front of the curtains ignore these things and just close the eyes on the things, close their eyes on uh, what's happening on in the neighborhoods, right? And just in front on the doorsteps. So it sort of intrigues me. It sort of surprises also, and I mean, sort of puts me into very deep thinking more that how uh, these things can be sorted out and what are the ways and means to sort out these complex problems which we are facing every now and then. And something which Sharmaji had already he had mentioned about it, although he didn't say it directly, but the problem is that we have not been able to right now. If we talk about 2020 right now, we are not in a position to just just be an ideal for the Gilgit Baltistan people to follow, which they had been almost pressing, and their demand was that they were always saying they were always protesting with the government of Pakistan that see. Jammu and Kashmir is a state, full-fledged state. They have an assembly, they have a legislative council, they have all these things. Why don't we have those types of things? Though they were comparing, so it was indirectly telling Pakistani governments, look, you are not doing much for us. See what India is doing. But right now, I think that things have changed to that to an extent. I don't think Gilgit and Baltistan will any longer, the people of Gilgit and GB will any longer just look forward towards us, and that's a sad story. And that's a sad story.
Thank you, General Saab. General Sharma.
Hey, yeah, I would just say that firstly, we have such a wealth of wisdom here. From these two interactions, I can make out. I feel there is a need for us to widen the scope of this intra-Kashmir civil society dialogue.
Yes. Yes.
One, and not only in confined people of this part of Jammu and Kashmir, but we need to give platform to people of Gilgit Baltistan, right?
Exactly.
We need to give platform to people of the other side of line of control. Let them
Yes,
also have their say.
certainly.
Then
With your
there is
guidance.
no point in putting it on the YouTube and I don't know how many people. This dialogue must get populated, and I think at least a 2-page worth of your impressions and your observation must reach the people who matter here. And
Correct.
also, I call upon Javed Mir, who's a firebrand kind of a young leader, that let's have more and more young people like him from the valley and other parts of our state to come
Yes,
and express their views and their opinions. We
certainly.
are actually old wine and we are in old bottles. So let's get new people and new generation and let's only take the take the process further. Otherwise, I think with the passage of
No, no,
time,
no. We are doing
we
with
are
your
also
guidance.
fading. We will fade away, and then I
No
think so.
question of fading
Give
away,
space to
sir.
new generation. Give
We will
space
do
to
it.
new generation. New
Junaid,
generation.
Junaid, I think
Brigadier
you're.
Saab, am I included in the word we?
Yeah. Junaid,
Of
you have.
course, you. I said you are a wealth of wisdom. I'm saying, Bashani Sahib, I
Also,
have had.
when you said we are the old people, that is why I wanted to know that whether I should include myself or not.
No, we can be mentors, but we need to provide opportunities to young generation
That's
who
what.
have to live with this problem for another decades to come.
Yes.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
And we
Junaid,
have people like
sorry.
Hamid Bashani Saab here. I'm as a great friend and I have a lot of respect for him. And he's always spoken his mind out. Hats off to him.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Same to you.
Junaid, your narrative of last 3 decades has been possibly misunderstood by Professor Javed Kakru, and he has misinterpreted it or misunderstood it as if you carry the narrative even now. Fact is that Kashmir has been part of India. It has rejected by massive mandate by masses the two-nation theory. When Muhammad Ali Jinnah came to Kashmir, in his own presence, Kashmiris rejected it, and there was a protester called Maqbul Sherwani who had to jump in the river when he disrupted his jalsa in Baramulla, and when his Muslim Leaguees chased him, he had to jump in the river Jhelum to reach his friend's position. And this has been rejected. And I think what I could gather from Junaid's narrative was that for last 30 years, because Junaid is a product of this turmoil and turbulence of Kashmir. He is a generation who has gone through only turbulence and political unrest in Kashmir. And he has seen the narrative which was orchestrated by the vested interest and by the separatists and militants in Kashmir. So therefore, he has a concern that this narrative will not work. All of us are concerned that this narrative will not work. As I said last time also, I say it now also. In today's Kashmir, the societal psyche, which is a majority of Muslim population, has changed. It is underwent a terrible introspection, and they have come to realize that Indian state has come to stay in Jammu and Kashmir, and therefore the, the future of all the generations, particularly the aspiring generations, is lies with India. This is a realization. Now they want to come out of this morass, and what is the exit route? I want that exit route sometimes to be discussed, not today because we were on a different subject, but that exit route is very necessary, which General Saab also emphasizes, that maybe the exit route would be the huge development, Naya Kashmir dream. And but the elephant in the room still continues. Elephant in the room is Pakistan. How do we deal with that? So therefore, it is a multitask problem which needs a multidimensional approach to attempt to resolve the imbroglio. And we have to sensitize, we have to build up it needs a consensus at the national level, at the Kashmir's level. Then it may be a good time for Kashmiris to at least get out of this morass. Junaid, your last thoughts for 60 seconds.
Thank you so much, Bansab, for enlightening all of us with your wisdom. And I, and thank you all for appreciating and acknowledging my efforts, which I have been doing in Kashmir. I would like to correct Javed Sahab. I did not said Pakistan is a messiah to the people of Kashmir. I said I was referring to ill ailments that Pakistan is, Pakistan was propagated as a messiah to the people of Kashmir. This is what I was mentioning. Pakistan was, it is not. Pakistan was propagated as the messiah to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Are you hearing me, sir?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I said an open religious affiliation is carved to Pakistan, where India is called the land of kafirs. I did not say like Pakistan is a messiah and India is a land of kafirs. No, I did not said that. And I said the historic facts seems to emerge from the UN resolution of 1948, and the history before seems to be blurry picture confused between the tribal invasion and the Jammu massacre in public discourse of Jammu and Kashmir. That's what I said. Moreover, I was referring to the ill ailments. It's not just like I said, it's being perceived as a messiah. No. It's been perceived, the public feeling in Jammu and Kashmir is where Pakistan is perceived as an enemy, as massacred, which has butchered, which has, you know, devastated people of Kashmir like anything, just to fulfill their global agenda, just to keep the pot of their agendas burning. That's it. That's what I was referring to. And moreover, let's not go deep into the. I hope like things are clear now. What I wanted to convey. So, my message to the whole panelists is we should continue with these efforts. We should organize more and more webinars on these strategic issues. And I hope the people at the helm should, give us air, and it should, be seen as an policy document or as a virtual policy document where things can be taken forward as a way forward, what everybody shared through their wisdom and through their experience. So this is my message to all the panelists. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Junaid. And anybody from the audience wants, Javed, you said that Professor Rana would like to intervene. Is he there?
I said that let me ask Professor Rana or Mr. Sunil Vatal Saab, if you can just ask Professor Rana if he is hearing us.
No, he is hearing us. I have asked him to unmute. He's on mute, so I've asked him to unmute.
Yeah.
But he must be definitely hearing us.
Professor Rana, if you are hearing us, can you please unmute your mic and camera and give your opinion?
He hasn't unmuted.
No, he is not unmuted.
Anyway,
Next
we are coming to the close of this program. I think there was a very I always like General Sharma's comments on such webinars, which is exclusively Sons of the Soil and from Jammu and Kashmir. That Ashok, you should more and more encourage this dialogue within Jammu and Kashmir than hearing the outside so-called expertise. Those bureaucrats who have served for 2 years become experts and write books on Kashmir. Those who have served as military tenure also there, outsiders, they also pretend to be the experts. But we who are the real sufferers of this situation in Jammu and Kashmir must introspect, must discuss, debate, grapple upon, and we must, because talk is the only essence whereby we can collate certain ideas, bring out certain ideas. Maybe our exercise helps the needy Kashmiris, suffering Kashmiris, people of Jammu and Kashmir to come out of this morass. We have some experience, we have some strategic community members with us, we have academicians, we have active politicians with us. More and more Jammu and Kashmir people should get involved with the webinars, and I wish to undertake that exercise continuously. I think this is our second, and I will try to enlarge its scope to others also. And Kashmir is getting mired always in politics, because if we start getting politicians, they start blaming each other. So we need to the experts and the academicians and some meaningful social and political activists to start with till it gets expanded with a purpose. So thank you all of you, sir. Thank you, General Sharma. Thank you, Hamid Bashani, to spare some time. And thank you, Javed Kakru Saab. Thank you, Dr. Saab. And thank you, young leader Junaid, for having spared some time and given us some thoughts. Atse kashir pait wana love akal gay serve akal. Love man so asan zyada potential sushakan jaan ideas dit.
ये काव करी तेम खोत बेहतर करान काव पूत
ये जरूरी तो इसलिए क्या Javed Sabashuan, he has also started a channel called Waller Channel. He is inviting cultural entities of Kashmir, and he is doing very well on that. And I wish him too well about enlarging the scope of cultural engagement with across the board in Kashmir. And I have a feeling that we have Dr. Ashraf Saab here. I have seen him very keen observer of issues on the ground, and I depend on his very wise counsel on certain issues. And he has a very robust ground sense. And I wish I had some clout with the policy makers in Delhi so that we could put across our not ex our thoughts to them, how to set right the mess in Jammu and Kashmir, I call it, because prolonged governor rule will also mess it further. That is my view. And I'm trying that more and more political process needs to be initiated, more and more development needs to be initiated, and it has to be an inclusive exercise. It can't be exclusive exercise. And we must have the sense of tolerance also. If there is a other point of view also, if 370 for some is sacrosanct, let it be, and let them articulate that sentiment whichever way they wish, except for the violence. And if it is gone and dusted for others, let it be that. have mutual tolerance to appreciate each other's point. There is no need to call names here or there. So, friends, I promise you that we'll try to enlarge this dialogue and encompass a larger view of intellectual, of business people, of the concerned stakeholders, bind by through these discussions and get enlightened and try to put it across to Government of India for their better wisdom. Thank you very much, one and all. Thanks a lot for sparing time. Thank you.
Thank